Okay, well, welcome to the long-awaited reveal of our new batch upload process, batch image upload process, to be clear. You can still batch upload specimen records as you always have been able to directly in the portal. This batch upload protocol is to replace the old one that was through Globus. And as a reminder, images are not the same, they're not managed the same way that the data are. You can upload as much data as you want into the portal. It's not going to break anything or overload our systems. But images, as you know, take a lot more space. So um, many collections, and I assume if you're here, it includes you, um, have chosen to web host their images with the Symbiota Support Hub. So previously that was on Arizona State University servers, and now that we have moved everything to University of Kansas, that means that images are going to be on University of Kansas servers too. So, and a quick note about the sustainability of this, we have support from iDigBio to continue to host images that are associated with thematic collections networks. That's iDigBio related digitization projects through 2026. So that's like September 2026. And next year we'll be reaching out about our kind of our sustainability planning, which will involve starting to have a fee for service for image hosting. Right now, our rates, we're trying to stabilize them so they don't go up every year, but it looks like it's going to be about $3 per gig per year. And because the images that you upload are downsampled, that ends up being quite a lot of images. Yeah, quite a lot of images for not a lot of space. But then there's still going to continue to be like the free hosting tier, which is if you live manage in your collection, it's going to be 25 gigs is free. That usually, I mean, it really depends on your specimen records, but I've seen collections as big as like 4,000 specimens, still solidly under the free tier. So you can kind of always like change the sizes of your images if you're like, well, let's just stick with the free tier and try to downsize our images a little bit more. That being said, $3 per gig per year is pretty darn cheap if you compare it to market rates. And we're trying to keep it that way because like we're not trying to make money here, just like break even at least. So just so you know that that's coming up, again, that is a next year problem for folks who are currently involved with or kind of were involved with a thematic collections network. However, many of you are likely not involved in a thematic collections network and you are already used to our fee system. So I know there's many of those people on this call who are like, what do you mean? I'm already being charged. Well, that's because you weren't part of a thematic collections network before. So that's going to continue. It's just that our rates are going up $1 most likely next year to $3 per gig per year. Okay, any questions on that before I jump into the actual batch uploading protocol? Okay, and if a lot of this is new to you, like we sent out this email to anyone who's in Symbiota basically, and so it doesn't necessarily refer to the people who have previously been batch image uploading. So as we get requests to access the folders where you're uploading the images, we're kind of going to be checking to be like, okay, were these people previously uploading or were they not? And we'll just have a conversation, just be like, just so you know, here's our free tier, just to make sure that, you don't get blindsided by this. We're just going to be doing that due diligence. Okie doke. Well, let's go ahead and hop in. I'm going to share with you all our batch uploading protocol. I just threw it in the chat and then I'm going to share my screen and show you. Okay, so it looks a lot like the old batch uploading protocol because many of the steps are similar. However, do not be deceived. It is quite different in other ways. So we are using Globus just like previously. So most of you, if you've already been batch loading images, do not have to do this first step. You do have to do the full first time setup except for this step. So don't hear that I'm saying skip this. No, do everything here except for the first step because you probably already have a Globus user account. So this is the first time setup that you're going to have to do before you do uploading. And once that is done, then you can pretty much just stick with part B of the protocol, which is the uploading process. Okay, so you want to create a Globus account if you do not have one already. If you do have one already, then you just move on to step 2. This is kind of a major change between our previous protocol and our current protocol is now you have to download a software on your uploading computer called Globus Connect Personal. And we know that this has caused some issues with some of our beta testers already because a lot of folks have institutional IT requirements that softwares get like passed through some IT people before they can get on your computers. We're really sorry. This is the only way that KU has enabled access to the Globus server for now. We're talking to them about potentially changing this, but right now they only allow transfers between Globus Connect Personal and the Globus servers. So you'll need to go to Globus Connect Personal, select which installation makes most sense for you. And luckily they have really great instructions with lots of screenshots about how to do this. So that's very helpful. And then one additional configuration you might need to make is, let's see, I have it running, I believe. If you go into options, there is, at least on my computer, which is a Windows, there is a tab called Access, and this will look similar on Mac, but the instructions will talk about it. And this is the folder that you are going to see when you go to transfer things from your Globus Connect Personal to the Globus servers at KU. So this is where you want this to be a place where you're always saving your images that need to be uploaded. And you can see here, I use desktop. So like it can be a big folder. It doesn't have to be like, a subdirectory within something. You could say documents, you could have a photos folder. This is just what you're going to have to navigate through when you are trying to upload images. So just make sure that that folder is where you want those images to be. So if you need to change that, you can click the plus sign. You can choose what directory you want it to be in. And then I would probably remove the previous one. If I think by default, it usually does like documents. If you don't want it in documents, add a new one and then delete the documents one. Okay, so that is what is explained in step 3. So I just walked through step 1, which is download Globus, install it on your computer. You might need help from your IT system to do this, to get the permissions to do this. And then you need to do this configuration to set up which folder the images are going to be coming from in order to go to KU. Okay, once you have that all set up, then you're going to click this link here. And it will take you to a form that will probably look very similar to a form you have filled out before. And this is going to help us get the information that we need to give you the right folders and set up the image processing profiles. So the whole the whole file structure in ASU currently does not exist in KU. So we're creating those folders anew. And so if you have multiple portals that you are working in, make sure to check them all so that we make sure we set up all those subfolders for you. All right, once you get that, then it will take a day or two for us to get back to you to set up those folders. And we also need to set up an image processing profile for you, so it's a little bit more work around this time, but it's actually gonna set it up to be less work in the future, which is really nice. And I'll explain that in a moment. And then you're going to, once you get right access to those folders, you're gonna get an email from no reply at globus.org that looks something like this. Globus user Katie Pearson shared this thing with you on guest collection KU Symbiota root. Your URL might not look this ugly because this is seen in Microsoft Outlook, but in essence, you will get a URL to that folder. And then we highly, highly recommend that you bookmark that folder. There's a little bookmark button when you are viewing in Globus so that you can come back to it later. In my experience, the Globus user interface is a little bit confusing to navigate. So any bookmarks or shortcuts you can make yourself ahead of time, real helpful later on. Okay, so that's it for the setup. Does anyone have any questions about the setup process? All clear. Okie doke.
I
Then
have a
let's
quick
move on.
question, Katie.
Oh yeah, go for it, Annie.
So, I noticed in the past forms of interfacing with Globus that it wouldn't, using the same login, it wouldn't remember the bookmarks, and I would have to go to the email with the folder every time, even though I repeatedly tried to save a bookmark. Is that something that you think other people have experienced, or is it perhaps just a glitch?
Boy, I don't know.
Okay,
The
well,
way that I usually access things is, so I go in, I log in, and I go to collections. That tends to be the way that I don't know if everyone else can do that though, because I like have administrative access to this collection. Um, so if you're having trouble navigating, I find that going to collections is usually where you can at least like, okay, shared with me. Here are the ones that are shared with me. Maybe it's in that list of things. So you can try that too.
great, thank you.
No problem. Okay, so when you are going to endeavor the uploading process, make sure that Globus Connect Personal is running on your computer. So usually if you're on a Windows, the icon's probably down here. If you're on a Mac, it might be up in the corner. Oh, Kate Wasselkov says you're not crazy, Annie. They're experiencing the same thing. So make sure that it's running on your computer, then log into Globus using the same email address that you provided to this form. We've had a case where people have different, like several different logins. So make sure that you like remember or write down which specific login you used. Because some people use an institutional login or an ORCID ID or just a Gmail access. Navigate to the folder where you want to upload images. So that's going to be that link that was previously shared with you. And it's going to be in this collection called KU Symbiota root. And I don't think you'll see it this way, but um, it's going to be in a folder within our very large folder of all the collections. You'll probably only see the one you have access to. And then let's see. Oh, this actually might be wrong. Move on to this. Okay, so what is largely different about the access now or the upload process now is that you are going to be, let me show you single panel view. This is probably what you're used to seeing is the single panel. You are going to be using the link from your computer's Globus Connect Personal to the Globus KU environment. by doing this. So here I am on my, let's see, I'm going to go in OBI. I'm going to upload some vascular plants to OBI. And I'm going to, you'll see on the side here, previously you would use this upload link, and that's grayed out. And that's because we can't do that nice drag and drop that we previously did. Instead, we have to click the transfer or sync to button in the right-hand menu. So we go over here, we click transfer or sync to, and then it's going to open this two-panel view, which is at first blush kind of overwhelming. What you see on the left is the KU Symbiota root, or whatever collection is up here in the file path. And then what you see on the right is whatever other collection that you are accessing. So in this case, these two are the same. What I want to do is I want the one on the right to be my Globus Connect personal connection. So if I click on this, here are, in my case, my recent connection or collections. You could go to your collections. That might help you find it. And this KP laptop, that's what I named my Globus Connect personal in the setup step. 2B. So whatever you named it when you were setting it up and installing it on your computer is what you're going to see as the collection in Globus. So I'm going to select my laptop. And now you can see I have the KU Symbiota root on this side, and then my Globus Connect personal, which is called KP laptop, on the right side. So I'm going to go to the folder that I want to upload. Let's see, is there anything in this one? I don't remember if that's the one I wanted to upload. Okay, we'll just do this one. So you can do this in one of two ways. You can just select a folder and click Start. See this little arrow is pointing that way? It's saying I'm going to transfer this into whatever folder is selected over here. Or you can open it up, select all, and transfer. Does not really matter. The one thing that you will see is that, let me go back into my OBI folder here, is that images that I previously, or folders that I previously uploaded, they will not automatically get deleted after being processed. So you will have kind of an archive of the folders that are there. But you would have to go in to see like, okay, did any of the images get left behind from that? So that could actually be useful for you if you date your folders, which is probably a good idea because then you can have one that is dated and know like, okay, what were the problems from that particular. So I can rename here and say, okay, rename that. Probably going to move it. Here we are. So maybe this was the one that I was going to do. Yeah, that's the one. Then you can know what batch those came from if there are any images left behind after processing. Okay, so I select the folders that I want to upload, and then I click this Start. Double check that you are in the correct subfolder that you want to be in. So I'm in OBI, OBI vascular plants, and then I'm going to click Start, and then it's going to say, all right, we started your request. And usually it's pretty fast. I'm going to refresh my list, see if it shows up. Yep, it's right there. Both my images are in there. And you'll also get a handy dandy email. Let me log out and pull open that email. Although it might take a second to get into my inbox. Okay, this isn't the one I just did, but this is what it'll look like. It'll give you a little task details. It'll tell you how many files you transferred, how many directories you transferred. So that's going to be a useful benchmark for you guys to make sure that, oh, those 703 images actually did upload and there were no errors. I would recommend uploading no more than probably like 500 images at a time for now. Even lower would be great just to make sure that, we're not overwhelming the system. Um, but, as things get a little bit smoother, then you can go up a little bit more. Yeah, Annie.
Is that a time per upload in a moment, or do you mean in a day?
Um, in an upload session, and I'll clarify what I mean by that by explaining the next part of the protocol. Some people have experienced issues uploading to Globus when they've put really big batches in there just because of like network timeouts and things. So, kind of depending on your experience, if you have like internet that sometimes is spotty, you might be like, okay, smaller, safer. Um, and yeah, so it kind of depends on your network, how big of the groups you want to do. Okay, so then next step. All right, we're all the way down here. And we just walked through these. So we clicked on the search bar in the panel on the right. We clicked on this Your Collections tab. That's when I went in here and clicked Your Collections, selected my KP laptop. We double checked that we were transferring to the correct folder on the left-hand side. And then we clicked Start. And then here's a little screenshot of the email that you're going to get, again from noreply@globus.org. And that's going to tell you how many things transferred. Okay, so that is step one. That used to be where you would stop in your batch upload process. And then we would take care of the rest, sometimes one day, sometimes 2 days afterwards, sometimes 5 days on a holiday. Now we've been able to set it up so that you guys can do the step two, which is kind of nice because it gives you a little bit more insight into the process, and then you can do it in 10 minutes instead of one day. So, important point, wait 10 minutes before you can conduct this step. The reasoning for this is that the server needs that time to apply the appropriate permissions to the folder in order to be able to take those images, move them into the other folder, and then delete them from the temporary Globus folder environment. So if you don't wait those 10 minutes, you're going to be like, wait, did these like process? They're like here, but they're also here and they didn't get deleted. Was that a problem? Like, that's going to be really confusing. So just put it aside, go do another task for 10 minutes, and then come back. And then you can start on this step two part. Okay, so this is the part of the protocol where you're linking your images to their respective records in your portals. So what you're going to do, and you have to have administrator permissions to do this, so an administrator needs to be the one who is doing the processing of the images. You'll go into your portal. You'll go to the processing toolbox. And then there may be one, there may be many saved image processing profiles here. But the one you're going to use, we're consistently naming the new profiles KU Globus. So to clarify, so you're always going to select the one that says KU Globus. If you don't see a KU Globus, email us because that means that we forgot a step when we were setting things up for you. The old one is not going to work. Don't try. It won't do anything. So I'm going to select KU Globus. And then I'll explain kind of the settings here in this slightly complicated setup. So here we have the pattern match term. This is the pattern that the computer is looking for in your file names to match those file names to the catalog numbers. This is what's called a regular expression. You don't have to understand it. We set this up for you. But if you ever have a change in your catalog number formatting, then you might actually experience an inability to link those images to their records, because it's not expecting that particular format. You can choose whether you want to match on the catalog number or the other catalog numbers. Most people use catalog numbers, but I know some collections, I think San Diego State, for example, they match on other catalog numbers. It just depends on your protocol. So if you're unclear, just contact us and we can make sure that you're selecting the right thing. Unfortunately, many of these settings do not save if you've changed them once. So you are going to need to carefully look at these settings each time to make sure that they are correct. You don't have to worry about source path, target folder, URL prefix. All of these things should be preset for you. So no need to look at these ones besides the catalog number, other catalog number difference. And then here are some other options. For the most part, you do not have to worry about these first three. Those are pretty standard. The three that you might want to consider changing are, in case of a missing record, aka we couldn't find a record that matches this catalog number, do you want it to completely skip that image import and then just go to another image in your folder? Or do you want it to create an empty record and link that image to the record? Most people use this option because a lot of the times we're doing an image first workflow. So most of the time you'll use this. Another option is whether an image already exists. So um, if the server finds an image with the exact same name as the one that you were uploading, you can say, don't import it at all. You could say, rename the incoming image, but do save it to my record. Or you can say, just replace the existing image because the existing image is an old version and I don't care. I don't want that one anymore. Most of the time, I was running them with this option because most of the time people were uploading re-annotated or re-imaged specimens. And then, oh, you can pretty much ignore this one. You guys are not uploading CSVs along with your images, so you can ignore that. So basically, these two are the ones that you want to double check that you agree with the setting. Okay, any questions about the image processing um, options you have here?
Katie, how do you get notified about missing records? Is there a way you can find out which ones didn't match?
Yep, those will come out as a printout in the log once you run this. Good question. So I'm not sure whether it's been 10 minutes. Probably not, but maybe. We'll see. I'm going to click Process Images, and it's going to give me a printout of what it does with every single image that gets processed. In this case, it said, all right, I found this image, and I did all these things to make sure it had all the right derivatives. And hey, I found the record, so I linked it to this record, and it gives you a link to that record. Did the same thing with a second one. Then it takes a little while to do some house cleaning, so just be patient as that happens. And then if we waited long enough, we should be able to go back in here and refresh list. Aha, we did wait long enough. So now if I go back into that folder that I uploaded, all the images that were successfully processed are gone. If there's anything left in this folder, that means it was not successfully processed. So it's a good idea to go back into some of your old directories and see if there's any lingering images still in there. Usually what I was finding when I was running these is that they are misnamed images or they were corrupted images, like they got corrupted when they got uploaded for some reason. Or if you're uploading from a Mac, sometimes it's these random DS store files that sometimes get in there. Or it's a file format that's not supported. So DNGs or RAWs or things like that. Those cannot be imported. Okay, so that's all finished. Then I'm going to go back to my specimen processor. And that log of what I just did is saved right here under the general processing. So you can run that, leave, come back, and still be able to see what happened to all of your specimen records in the future. So then if you saw an issue here where it said like couldn't find this record or skipped this or this image was too small or was an unsupported file format, that would show up in this log here. It doesn't give you a nice little printout of like how many records it did, but you can do a hack of like success. How many times did it say success? 2. Great. So I know that 2 images were successfully uploaded. If you have an issue with a specimen record, this occurrence record, when it says like link to this occurrence record, that is the OCC ID, also known as the Symbiota ID. And you can search for specimens kind of by URL hacking. So if I go to edit, open a random specimen record, you can copy that OCC ID and paste it into the URL where it says OCC ID equals, and it'll take me to that record. But you know, the first time you run this, it's a hyperlink, so you would be able to go straight to it instead of having to do that walk around thing. But as you can see, my image has been uploaded here. This was an old version, but it did not get replaced because this file name is not the same as this file name. So it did not recognize those as the same file, so it did not overwrite it. Okay, I see some things in the chat. Let me see. Let's see. Heather says, is there a way to upload multiple images for a single record? Yes, you can continue with the old way of you put this regular expression is flexible because it says I'm looking specifically for this pattern, and then there can be stuff afterwards. And that stuff afterwards would be an like a suffix. Like Shan is describing this too. So like OBI 12345 underscore A. That would be linked to OBI 123456. So would an underscore B, so would an underscore C, etc. Let's see. Rick says, let's say we didn't wait the 10 minutes, but the logs look good. Should we delete the KU folder on Globus? Yes, please. Anything that has been successfully transferred, please delete from Globus to allow enough room for other people to upload their images. Okay, so that is it for the walkthrough. What questions do you all have?
I'm sorry, I missed the beginning. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. When does the charging for the space start for the image hosting?
Next year, probably around September 2026, and that's when
Okay.
IDBio ends.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Walter says, can you still upload images manually? Yep, you can still do one by one. It's the same exact process as before. Joseph, you have a question?
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Great. I'm the manager at the LAF Herbarium, University of Louisiana at Lafayette, and it seems that we're still offline. I have to admit, I never learned the old Cernic system, and I was newly in the position, and it went offline before I even knew how to use it. I tried following the emails. I would just like to know if there's anything I'm supposed to be doing. Do I need to do anything as an administrator, or am I just awaiting? Does that make sense?
Like to edit your records or to do
I don't
what in
seem to be able
particular?
to access our part of Cernic at all right now, and it seems to be that some of them are still offline because they were patching some sort of bug, if I followed the email flow correctly. Does that make sense to you?
Everything should be back online by now. If you don't have access, just shoot us an email and we can make sure you have access to all the right collections.
Okay, can I email yourself about that, or is there someone else?
Yeah, just email help@symbiota.org.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. That's what I need to know. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Jennifer asks if my file names have information for tags creator, do those get transferred? Um, that's a good question. I believe the stored procedures that we have created for your collection, Jennifer, will still continue to function. I'll have to double check those. But I don't think we ever had a way of doing that automatically. Like it didn't trigger immediately after you did the image processing. We had to manually go in and do that. So, we're probably going to have to continue to still do that manually. But I'll have to check with Greg because he might have figured out something else. Oh, Shanna had a good point for you, Joseph, that everyone had to reset their passwords to get into their account. So if you previously had an account, then and you can't get in, it's probably just because you have to reset your password.
Thank you very much.
Kirsten says most of our specimens have catalog numbers that begin with B, but our NPS specimen catalog numbers begin with a part code like GRCA. Should we put the NPS catalog numbers in the other catalog number location and match on that? Um, yeah, so what we could do for you, Kirsten, if your images are going to consistently have those two different patterns, is we can create two different image processing profiles for you. One that processes the ones that start with B and ones that start with GRCA and whatever other part codes exist. Um, I mean, most of the time people are matching on barcode numbers, which are not necessarily matching to the herbarium where it's located at. Usually people are using the other catalog numbers slash additional identifiers field to put those NPS numbers and then applying their own barcodes to them. So they can have two identifiers, but the barcode one is can be considered like the image name. But that might be something we just need to go into detail with you just to understand your workflow. Other questions?
So this is more of a comment, I guess, but there's a command line interface for this Globus. So if anyone's interested in automating step one, I've already set it up to do that over here. If anyone's interested in the code, I put it on GitHub or something. I don't know how much overlap there is with other folks.
Thanks, Rick. Yeah, that's useful for folks who want to set that up. All right.
Okay, I have
Anything
one more
else?
question.
Yeah.
Just to make sure I don't crash Globus. You talked about uploading 500 images per upload session. Are you able to speak to what you recommend, how many image sessions we have in a day? Is it based on whether or not the images have cleared out already? and then doing another imaging session wouldn't be harmful?
Yes. Yeah. So what I mean by session is you've done the full processing, like part A and part one and part two, because that means you've taken up space in Globus, but then you've removed that space. The main issue is that we only have 50 gigs of space in Globus at like per day, or not per day, but like we only have 50 gigs. And so if you don't clear them out, then someone else might get bounced out because your images are taking up all the space.
I hear ya.
Or you might get bounced out because you're taking up all the space.
And to clarify, for the second step of linking the images in CCH2, is that something, it was a little unclear of whether or not it's expected that we always do that step, or if that step is both shared by the Symbiota Support Hub and Collection Admin.
You are now entirely responsible for linking them unless you run into issues and you need help.
Great. Thank you for clarifying.
Any other questions? Rick just put a link to the GitHub for their automated process if anyone's interested in that. It's in the chat. Okay, well, go forth and batch upload things. Let us know if you have any issues. And we will continue to troubleshoot as people run into problems. But we already have like 8 or 9 people using it, and things seem to be going smoothly. So looking forward to seeing all your great images. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.